My name is Randy Blake. Most people know me as Boom Boom. I am a five-time world champion kickboxer. I'm a two-time martial arts Hall of Fame inductee, and I am also a award-winning best-selling author. Perfect.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
Dude, I'm doing well. How are you, Boom Boom?
Man, living the dream, living the dad life, running around, and now I'm here.
I see you, man. I see you doing your stuff. I'm proud of you, dude. You're doing awesome,
Uh,
man.
Thank you, thank
I
you.
appreciate I appreciate you being willing to do this, and I guess it's best if we just kind of dive right in because we have a limited amount of time. I know you're busy. I'm busy. So yeah, man. If you do me a favor, just introduce yourself to the audience, and then I don't know how I'll cut this down, but I'd just like to make sure that everybody knows who you are, where we can find you, and then we'll do a recap at the end and just kind of let everyone know what your social media links are. I know you've got a book out, things like that, but just kind of give a brief rundown of
Woo.
your credentials as best as you can do. Just
Yeah.
I know you've done a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just the best you
All
can
right.
do.
Yeah. So my name is Randy Blake. Most people know me as Boom Boom. I am a five-time world champion kickboxer. I'm a two-time martial arts Hall of Fame inductee, and I am also a award-winning best-selling author.
Yes,
I
sir.
think, I think, I think, I think, in a nutshell, that might be
That suffices.
uh,
And what promotion were you with whenever you were a five-time champion kickboxing?
ISKA.
ISKA.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
And what is that?
that's International Sport Kickboxing Association.
And just for my audience, how many different associations are there out there kickboxing that are like accredited, like considered legit?
Yeah, so I've actually fought for all of them.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So I fought for Chuck Norris World Combat League. I fought for K1, which a lot of people know that's like the premier Super Bowl of kickboxing. And
Oh,
then you
okay.
have,
K1
and
is
you,
kind of like the elite kickboxing.
yeah, and then you also have Glory. And so
Sure.
K1 and Glory and Chuck Norris World Combat League, they were all sanctioned by ISKA.
Right on. Oh, all of those were sanctioned by the one that you held the title under.
Yes,
Right on.
yes.
Got it. Right on. So I did a little bit of research into kickboxing, and was your background karate, or was it is that how you kind of got introduced, or no?
Yeah, it was karate. Yeah, that's actually what's interesting. So the world titles, world titles in kickboxing and Muay Thai, but I got started doing karate. So that's really how I
Got it.
attained those titles. So yeah,
Got
it's just old school American karate.
Right on, right on. American karate, which is did it originate in Okinawa? I don't remember exactly. I did a brief summary of research. It seems like it originated in Japan, and karate means open fist or open hand or something like that.
Open hand.
Open
Yeah,
hand.
a lot of
Yeah.
pretty much every style came from Japan,
Right.
and
Sure.
I think some of the Americans went over and worked out, learned some of the skill sets, and then they
Got
brought it back to America. And they, I guess, took some of the things they felt that wasn't effective out and kind of made their own systems. And so it became American karate,
got it.
essentially.
Got it. Right on. And
Yeah.
so, how long did you? Let's see. From the time that you started practicing martial arts before you started competing, how long was that transition?
Mm. Yeah. So I actually I've been doing martial arts since I was 6 years old,
Okay.
and I was just a practitioner, just going to class, learning my craft. Most of the time, my mom made me go because I didn't really want to go. I mean, just being a typical kid. Fast forward, I went off and I wanted to become a basketball player. I wanted to be like Mike, like everybody did in the '90s.
Who doesn't? Yeah, I still do.
Uh, yeah, and, yes, they still do, right? And that didn't quite work out. I
Sure.
ended up dropping out of college and re-enrolling back into a martial arts studio, and just to work on my craft. That was something I felt that I was good at. I was partying at the time. I was a bouncer. My life was really totally different than what it is today. And I just came across a karate instructor. He said, "Hey man, I noticed you got some skills. You ought to come try this kickboxing class out. Come do some full contact. We can actually hit people. Uh, we can't really do it in karate class because it's semi-contact. People got to go to work. People got to go to school. This isn't the real deal." Um, he pestered me over and over and over. He said, "Yo, you really need to try this fighting thing. Just try it out." And I did it. So
Nice, nice.
yeah.
And you were obviously successful.
Mhm.
So you know, I hate to like just kind of change the course of the conversation, but um,
Mhm.
you know that what I do is hypnosis. I do neuro linguistic programming. I deal a lot with the mindset and the mentality of people, and it has become a constant thread. And I don't mean to say that that's every successful champion that I've spoken with in mixed martial arts, fighting, sports, but it seems to be that a lot of the professionals that I talk to who have had success in physical fitness, whether it be trying to lose weight, trying to run a marathon, trying to be the best at whatever it is they're trying to be, there are certain threads that run through that it seems like there are certain mental practices that most of these champions seem to incorporate in what they do. And I just kind of wanted to ask you about your method and in your mentality, training about mentality, mental focus, and kind of what that looks like, your preparation, how you found yourself finding different mental tools. And I just kind of wanted to see if you were willing to let me pick your brain a little bit on that and see what kind of modalities you use.
Nice. Yeah, most people don't want to do that
I
because
know.
like they'll ask and then I start kind of telling them and they're like, "Whoa, I'm not doing that." But no, that's actually a great
It's
question. For
being
me,
intentional with mental practices, I've found is something that most people are opposed to. And I
yeah.
found that my growth has come through those intentional practices. So it's always surprising to me to hear that people are so opposed to that, of what you implement mentally in your practice. But I think it is absolutely the bread and butter of how you've been able to achieve what you've been able to achieve, in my opinion. But I'd like to hear your perspective and your opinion because I can grow from you too.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for me, it is you got to have a vision. Your vision is simply you have to have the end goal in mind. So really what that means is if I have a fight 16 weeks out, okay, I have to see myself with my hand already raised.
Okay, so can I time out for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because I was going to break that down, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't. Well, can you break down just that port? Then I won't interrupt, and just break down that portion because you did say in game in mind, and that to me already is like that's huge. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people don't start a journey with in game in mind.
Right. Now there are pros and cons to that. So like for example, somebody may ask and say, "Hey Randy, I want to be a fighter. I want to do some MMA or kickboxing or boxing." Well, sometimes having an end game in mind or end goal in mind, they're already seeing themselves at the stage, coming to the stage, such and such, yada yada yada, coming down, getting into the cage, ring or whatever, and fighting. But that that's the end game. Now you have to do the legwork. So you actually you play it backwards. Okay, so what are the things that I have to do to get to that end goal? Okay, so I need to be training weeks and weeks and months out before I get to that end goal. So you're seeing you say, okay, my end goal is I want to get my hand raised. I want to win by knockout. This is the kick I want to hit this guy with, or whatever scenarios you're playing in your head. But then you say, okay, what is it going to take for me to achieve that goal?
Okay.
So
So that's step
now
two.
that's step two. So now you go back here and you start making steps to achieve that goal. So
But before
the
you
part,
ever do that, the first thing you ever do is visualize you getting your hand raised. You
yes,
see that moment.
you got to see that moment
Got to see that moment,
because
right? And
a lot of
you try to make it like crystal clear. Do you try to make it like you feel that emotion? You like, do you try to hear the audience, the crowd,
yes,
everything? You
yes,
try to make it as real as you can.
have everything you have to because you know in your world of study we all have negative thoughts. Like the
Dude,
average
those are
person
the most
has
prevalent thoughts we have.
6,200 thoughts a day, and
Yeah, yeah.
85% of them are negative.
Before I
So
even
if you so
started this podcast or this stream, I was like, this ain't gonna go right. Like, I mean, like something's gonna happen, something's
yeah,
gonna go wrong. It
yeah.
always does. Like
So I
that was my
always
mentality before I even clicked on the button. And you and I have planned this out. I already planned this. I already, I thought about this. We've been talking about it for months. And I already was planning on something failing. Like that was the first thing popped in my mind.
yep. And
Yeah,
that's just our nature, right? And so
I agree.
that often happens in fighting as well. And a lot of fighters
Mm,
go through this. First they'll say, "Oh, I'm gonna get knocked out. Oh, this guy's gonna
mm.
come to the stage and hit me with some lightning bolt, and I'm gonna get embarrassed in front of millions of people." And well, you have to learn to replay that and make it to where I see myself doing some violent things to this guy.
Right. Yeah.
And
You see yourself
but
actually knocking them. You see the moves. You see what you
you
can
gotta
do.
see,
You practiced it in your mind. You've done these moves, these different things, and so in your mind, you're
right,
seeing it all being executed in the nature that it ends up in your hand being raised. Right.
right.
You're playing the whole thing out in the scenario where your hand gets raised. And
But
so
that
that's
confidence,
the first thing that you visualize, and that's the first thing you connect to emotionally.
right,
Would you feel like
right.
that gives you your drive to do the second step?
Yes,
Okay.
that
You have to
drive,
do
that
that right first.
I have to do that right, and that gives me the confidence to now go train in confidence.
Got it.
See,
Got
most people don't train in confidence. They just
it. Yeah.
train, but they're training to go get
They
knocked
haven't
out.
seen that picture. They haven't
Yeah, they're
gotten that. They haven't spent the time mentally focusing on the goal.
right. And
Right.
they're training to go lose. They're training to go get knocked out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Or not to get knocked out.
yeah,
But
yes.
But in neurolinguistic programming, we often say, if I tell you not to imagine a black cat running across the screen or in front of you right now, what's the first thing that pops in your head? It's
I'm gonna say
a
yeah.
black cat running across the screen, or right in front of me.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
if you're training the whole time, but you're not focusing on the goal you want, your brain will default to what you don't want. And so the whole time you're imagining, don't get knocked out, don't get knocked out, don't get your ass whooped, all this type of stuff. Is that fair,
Yeah.
or am I missing what you're saying?
Well, no, that's you are absolutely on track. And the thing is, you may not get knocked out, but you
Yeah.
probably will have a bad performance.
So you're not the best version of yourself. You're not that version of yourself that you saw getting your hand raised.
Exactly.
You
And
didn't
now you're
perform
gonna
the way that you would have performed if you had focused on the win and being a champion rather than not getting your ass whooped.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because the default, if you do nothing, the default is usually just don't get killed, right? Like that's our
Right.
default is just don't be
Yeah.
embarrassed, just don't get killed, don't make your family embarrassed, don't your mom's in the audience, like
Yeah.
that's the shit that comes
Don't
into
become a meme.
our don't become a meme. That's the worst one, right? You don't want to be that
Yeah.
guy.
Don't
Man,
go viral.
yeah, exactly. And so if we don't preempt that, if we don't do that first step of focusing on visualizing and completely encapsulating what that championship would look like, that end goal of being who we want to be, if we don't really focus on that, it's going to be hard to do that next step of the appropriate steps to take to get to that end goal because you never really did that.
Right.
So when you start doing the actions or the activities to better yourself, you're not really focusing on getting to that version of yourself that you imagine. you're really just focusing on getting good enough to not be horrible.
Yes.
Is
In a
that
nutshell.
make sense?
In a
Or
nutshell.
am I wrong? That's how it feels like. That's how it sounds. I don't
Well,
know.
no. You are completely on track with it.
Okay.
It's
Good.
it's a confidence thing at the end of the day, and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and
You're confident.
you can't have both, right? It's either you're going to
No,
be positive about this, or you're going to be negative.
that's right.
So we
Yep.
know how negativity works. We know how positivity works, but oftentimes we try to have both, and you
Sure.
can't really do that. It's definitely not in fighting. You can't
Right.
do that. So
Right.
it's either I'm going to go in this thing and train and go hurt this guy and get my hand raised and then train hard and focus and be confident, or I'm going to be negative about it and train just to survive, just to not hopefully get knocked out, which
And you
I'll end
don't
up
even
having
know
a
you're doing it when you're doing it, right? Like, I don't think most people even realize that they're training below, you know, below that level to get to that championship. People don't realize that they're training just good enough.
Mhm.
Have you seen that or no?
I have, and that's where having a good team comes into play too. You have to have people in your corner who are just as disciplined, who are just as visual, who are just as goal oriented as you are. Because if
Right.
those people are negative, it's going to play off on you. And I
So
have
then,
had people in my corner like that in the past. You know, people like, oh well, this guy is going to knock you out if you don't do this. If you don't keep your
mm,
hands up, he's going to knock you out. Well, dude, now you're freaking me out. You're
so
not
you do better with that positive, like you got this champ, like you're gonna bust this dude up, you're gonna do this, he might try this, and then you're gonna counter with this, and you're gonna, like you do better with that.
right. Well, and it's being realistic. I'm not saying I need people in my corner to just, buttercut me up and always
Not
tell me
not
I'm
yes men,
pretty.
not
I
yes
mean,
men, but you need people
I need
with the
some
same vision.
realistics. Like, hey, this is a dangerous guy. We get that, but he's beatable. Now you have a lot of skill sets.
And this
Now, if
is how you're gonna do it.
you'll take your strengths and you'll match them and destroy his weaknesses, this is your chance. This is where you're going to take him out. But if
Yep.
we just focus on his
Yep.
strengths and what
Yep.
he's going to do, then what am I going to do? I'm
Yep.
not doing anything because I'm
Yep.
too worried about what that guy's going to do.
One thing you
So,
just said was really, really important, and I just kind of whooshed over it. Now I want to go back to it and revisit it because it's kind of like in neurolinguistic programming, we say you tell children who, if they're up on a high tree or thing, or they're scared, and you're trying to help them, you say, hang on. You don't say, don't let go, because don't let go again is the black cat running across the screen. Immediately they
right.
start to imagine all the horrible things that could happen if they let go. And something you just said was like, yeah, if you got somebody in your corner that's like, you're going to get knocked out if you don't X. Well, now
Yes.
you're putting into the person's mind, like they're thinking, I'm going to get knocked out. Like that's all they can think. But if you have somebody in your corner that's saying, you have the skill set to defend if they do X, you'll be able to do this, and that'll counter you and be able to allow you to do Y. Like if you have somebody in your corner that's more like that, they're still incorporating the same dangers, but they're giving you what to do instead of what not to do. Does that make sense? Or am I missing?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And that goes into your vision of now you're able to play those stories, those fight modes. If you have that positive coach who's saying if you do X, Y, and Z, so you can do the damage to him, well, now I guess what vision is playing in your mind now
right,
versus,
right,
oh, you're going to get knocked out. Like,
right,
that's a totally
right.
different story and
It's
different
a
outcome.
whole different story, whole different story.
Totally different.
Yeah, I like
I've
that,
had
man.
and I've
I
had
really
both.
appreciate that. That's really
And I've
powerful.
had and I've had both. So
Yeah,
it's and
yeah.
trust me, you lose sleep, it's uncomfortable, and you're going, man, I got 12 weeks of this. Imagine just 12
Mm,
weeks thinking
mm.
about you're going to get knocked out by somebody, you're going to get
And
humiliated,
it just
and it's the
plays over and over in
same
the mind.
story over and over and
Mm.
over again. It is the worst feeling.
Man, man, that almost makes those 12 weeks, 2 years. I mean, it's just, yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
you're losing sleep. Yeah, it just adds to your time of turmoil that you don't need. Like that was, and it was unnecessary, right? Like, because if it had just
right.
been worded a little different, you would have been still framing it in the way that you would have been not concerned about these different modalities, but you would have at least been conscious of them without being concerned, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's one of those things that we kind of have to do in our day-to-day lives. I kind of try to tell people, fighters just have found a way because there's more at stake. Fighters have seemed to find a way to deal with those stakes better than your average people because those stakes are so high and they know what's at risk. They find mental tools that everyday people can use. And that's what I try to implement is say, hey, these tools that I actually discovered whenever I was working with sports people and whenever I was lifting weights, training myself, doing marathons, triathlons, fighting, jujitsu, different things. These things that I found myself losing weight. Shit, I used to be 320 pounds. Like
Yeah.
just finding the tools to mentally accomplish a goal. Anybody who does that consistently, they seem to have these tools. And all I've done is take those tools and try to give them to the everyday person and just say, hey, you can do this every day of your life. It's not that hard to wake up today and the first thing you do kind of shake the sleep off and go, okay, what do I want to happen today? And start to visualize it and just kind of, how do I want the day to go? I've got this meeting at this time. I've got this, to do with this. How do I want those things to go positively, to where
Right.
everybody is affected in a positive way. And may the best man win. In martial arts, it's like, that's really what we want, right? Like, if I
Right.
train harder and I'm the better fighter, I want to win. But at the end of the day, dude, if you train harder, you're the better fighter, you will win. And I'm going to learn something from that. Like, that's kind of one of the things you accept when you go into martial arts and sports, and is like, may the best man win is really true. Like, we want to win. When we go in, our heart is in it. We want to win. We've done all the work. But at the end of the day, may the best man win is really the end goal.
Absolutely.
And so kind of one of my thinking is, if you start your day as just a layman, everyday person, and you wake up and you think, how can the best man win today in every situation? And I just try to make that, nurture those relationships and try to help that happen. You'll have a better day. I mean, how can you not?
Well, I think that's the key. You're focused on yourself. You're
Yeah.
focused on that's self-improvement. And I have
Yeah.
those same practices. It's all about goals. People who don't have goals are ultimately failures, unfortunately,
It,
because
it, if you
it's
have no
just
vision, nothing to advance toward, nothing to go toward, it really does. Ultimately, you're just kind of living life as it happens to you. And so you're not really
yes,
happening to life, you know?
yes,
Yeah. And
yes,
so you just kind of it doesn't mean you won't accomplish anything ever, but you're just kind of getting what you get. And
right.
so yeah, people with purpose and people with goals and things like that, they tend to have more um success and what we admire and see as success. And I agree with that. Do you have any meditation practices, anything that you actually do? Like, do you have like a music that you listen to? Do you have inspirational videos? Is there any resource that you like to go to kind of help you usher in that mentality, that success mentality, that goal seeking mentality, that connecting with that future version of yourself that wants to achieve the success that you're looking for?
Yeah. Not necessarily like a specific type of music, but yeah, I love all types of music. Uh, I read all types of books, self-help books.
What do you
I
like?
think the big
Like, do you have any specifics?
uh, what's one that I just read? It was Seven Habits of Highly Successful People.
Sure.
That was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Just
Is that Jordan
just
Peterson?
no, not Jordan Peterson. It was something Kobe.
Okay.
Kobe.
Okay.
I think
I
Shane
don't
Kobe.
know that one. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, but
So
yeah,
so you like
I
kind
would
of some self-help books and trying
but
to
I watch a lot of YouTube
YouTube
inspirational
videos?
videos. It can be
Yeah.
like Les Brown. It can be
Les
Eric
Brown.
Eric. Uh, there's an Eric the Preacher.
Okay.
Um,
Eric the Preacher.
Peterson is good.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but oh, I like the Navy SEAL guy.
Okay.
Stay hard. That
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
stay
yeah, yeah.
hard,
Yeah,
stay
yeah.
hard. It's
Right
everything's an
on.
MFer,
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
But
So you do those types of things to kind of, and I really don't mean this in a negative way, but it creates an echo chamber for yourself of the goal that you're wanting to achieve, right? So it's not like necessarily you agree with them on every point, but given that you're trying to achieve a specific goal, this type of communication, this type of um, information coming in helps you to kind of imagine or kind of like visualize the successes and things like that. So it kind of contributes to your process. Is that,
right,
yeah,
right. Because I mean, because at the end of the
you're
day,
doing it already. And so this just
you're
kind of helps fuel it.
right. Because there's no new information out there.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, so I'm really just trying to do what the successful people are doing. So I'm trying to
Sure.
surround myself around successful people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read books that other successful people have read. I'm listening to quotes and
Yep.
watching YouTube videos and
Sure.
uh, things that people who have already done because they've laid out the blueprint. So I'm
So
not doing anything new that's
in
already out there.
in neurolinguistic programming, we call that modeling. Like we basically we look at what someone else is doing to achieve success, we model it,
Yes.
and then we try to do similar,
Yes.
as close as we can. And sometimes we get like hyper focused on, like if you're trying to emulate, like say a sniper, you're going to try to do everything the way they do it, like the way they breathe,
Absolutely.
the way that everything they do. And so modeling is the basis of neurolinguistic programming is modeling success. And so if you take that same mentality and you were able to layer it over any other practice, let's say right now you're doing business. So you wake up every day, and now that you're not kickboxing anymore now. So now you're kind of trying to encourage and help others and inspire others. So when you wake up every day in business, the way that you visualize how that works out every day is different, but you're using the same modality. Does that make sense? You're modeling in the
Yes.
same way.
Yes. I'm taking the same principles I learned from martial arts and fighting and just applying it to the business culture,
Right.
essentially,
Right.
which is, you know, your vision, your discipline, being repetitive and doing something over and over to achieve these goals.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's awesome. If there was one piece of advice that you could give to people who are aspiring to either be, let's say, an author because you're a successful author, a mixed martial artist because you're a successful mixed martial artist, or a up and coming entrepreneur businessman, regardless of which it is, what would you say is the most important element mentally to do first?
mm, figuring out, I would say figuring out what it is that you want to truly do.
You mean the
Like
end goal
I
in
think
mind first?
with the end goal, like you have to know exactly what it is you want to do because if you don't know that, then you won't stick to it. I mean,
Got it.
you know, you know, just being in the fitness world, how many people have told you, "Oh, well, once I get in shape, I'll come see you." Oh, yeah, like once I go do this first, and then I'll come get with you. I'll pay you the money,
Yeah.
so you know I can come get in better shape. It's like, no, you don't want to do it. You
Right.
don't want to do that.
Right.
So I would say figure out what it is exactly that you want to do. Whether it's
First.
I want to write a book, I want to be an MMA fighter, kickboxer. If you truly want to do that, now, okay, go do your research.
Yeah.
It's all laid out there. Go see what those guys are doing
Right.
because once you see what it really takes from the real people, like the real champions, if that's something you want to do, if you want to train 3, 4, 5 times a day, because that's what it's going to take.
That is what it's
That's
going to take, for real.
if that's something that you truly want to do, then go for it.
Got it. And so setting realistic expectations is actually healthy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just being honest and being real with yourself. I mean,
Right.
I know I know I'm too old to go become like Michael Jordan now. And
Right.
I don't want to go outside and go and throw up 1,000 shots a day.
Sure.
So
No, yeah,
therefore,
no, I don't either. And honestly, I never did. I loved basketball and I tried hard at it and played hard, but same. Yeah, no, I didn't need that. I didn't want that. And so I didn't do it. Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, man, I think I'm kind of running out of time here. So if you want to kind of wrap it up by letting us know where we can find you, that would be awesome. So I know I want to buy your book, so we can buy your book off Amazon.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
what else? I saw your documentary in person. I know we can get that. Where else can we find you? You know, hashtags, whatever.
Yeah. Facebook, Randy Blake. Instagram, it's RB3 Boom. I have a website, randyblakejr.com. That's kind of under construction right now, but when it's back up and running, I have a gift shop and have all types of things you can go in there and go look at. Yeah, you go check my book out. It's actually an Amazon bestseller. Just type in Randy Blake. It's called Boom, Story of Perseverance, Mental Toughness, and Overcoming Adversity.
Awesome. And how long have you been writing that book?
That book actually was in the works back in, it was a pandemic. I got the idea from the pandemic. When we shut down,
Sure. Yeah. It was
we
hard
all
to make
lost our
money.
jobs.
Yeah.
Well, they just shut everything down,
Right.
and I said, okay, I'm bored. I'm gonna go Netflix.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I binge watched everything on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a movable type of guy. I like to move and do stuff. I don't want to sit
Yeah.
still unless
Yeah.
it's gonna make me a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I realized, okay, I watched everything on Netflix. I watched everything on Hulu and Amazon Prime, all that stuff. I decided to just look myself up. So I'm typing in Randy Blake just because I had never done that before. I never looked up any of my fights or any articles and all that.
Right.
Come to find out, it was tons of crazy, weird articles, just false crap, and
Yeah.
I mean,
I actually heard you say that somebody had claimed that you had bought your titles.
yeah. I bought my titles.
Yeah.
I've got three wives. I've got two husbands. You know, it's like what
Man,
have I been doing with
if
my
you are
life?
able to sling it like that, bro, you and I need to hang out more.
Man, dude, I'm like, golly, like, why didn't I know about this? And then it's
Right.
like, and and then it was two kickers. The next kicker was, it was like, yeah, he's got a net worth of $500 million. I'm going, where is that money at? Well,
Right.
so like the next day, this is a true story. The next day, I found out I was going to be a dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, in
Is
like
it
5 years, because kids nowadays are just extremely smart with this technology. So
Yeah, absolutely.
how do you explain to a child if your son looked up an article on you having
Right.
two wives and how do you explain to him that that's not real? Because
Right.
everything on the internet is true,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's how I came up with the idea of coming up with the book. I said, well, let me just tell it from my perspective. Let
Right.
me do it, get it out there. And I've got some more projects in the works, but when my daughter is old enough, she can now have the real truth. Because I can't take that stuff off the internet, and that's not going anywhere. But
Sure.
I can now add to the internet from my perspective in a positive, healthy way.
Right.
So just setting the example.
Yeah. And from your own mouth, which makes a huge difference. So I think it's awesome.
Right.
And I'm really happy you did it. Um, is there anything that you feel like you wish you had accomplished in mixed martial arts that you really didn't get a chance to?
Mm, not really,
No, you feel
because
pretty good about it.
I will say this. When I jumped into kickboxing, I didn't expect to go as far as I did. I didn't expect to accomplish everything that I truly did. I know that's really hard to believe, but I'm glad that I did. And I've been able to fight on every major platform. And
Yeah.
I see guys today, even on the local level, I'm pushing for those guys. I'm hoping that those guys can make it to that next level to experience that. But if I have to look at what I've done in kickboxing, there really isn't anywhere else to go.
Got it.
So Yeah, so I feel like, I've done it justice. I could go back. I could fight just for the love of it. But as far as accomplishing world titles, that's the goal. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think there's any more left to do.
Yeah.
I don't, I
Well,
don't, I don't think I don't think being a five-time world champion is any different than being a 55,000 time world champion.
right. Yeah.
I guess maybe I wish I could have made a little bit more money. Maybe if there was
Okay.
more money,
That's
if there
fair.
was more money, if there was more money in fighting, I think that if I could go back and do that, that might be a better answer, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, if there was more money in it, obviously you'd have gone for more money.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, no, that's a good answer, dude. I understand that. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and now you are still living in the Midwest in Tulsa area. And do you have any plans on, future? I know that right now with the speaking engagements, the book and everything like that, you're really on a path right now for trying to help inspire and educate people on, you know, how to succeed and how to do better in life and different things like that. Is there anything you want to speak toward that before we wrap up?
No, you hit it right on the nail. That's just pretty much where I'm at right now, trying to help other people, give back all the knowledge I've acquired over the years, and hoping to push the next generation forward. I think that's the biggest thing is for guys like me when I'm in my position. That's what's going to truly make me great. You can say, well, Randy Blake was known for his spinning back kick. He was known for his jab, or whatever you thought I had as far as assets go in the cage. I have to be able to give those skill sets back because then that is what's going to truly make me great. And you learn that in martial arts. So, like, you have like, first degree, second degree, third degree, up into a grand master, right?
Right.
When you become a grand master, that's your job is to make everyone as good as you are or better. See, it
Got
doesn't
it.
make any sense for this guy to sit up at the top and everybody else is just walking around in circles. I have to make those people go out and become better than me. That's
Yeah.
how my legacy will now live on.
So
So that's my job.
that's the end game, and that's your job is to make everybody that
Yes,
listens to you better than you.
absolutely.
Dude, I love that. That's awesome. If it's cool with you, I think that's a perfect place to stop.
Okay. Yeah,
Is that
that
cool?
was great. That
All
was
right,
great.
Randy. I appreciate you, brother. I'll be in touch with you via email. If there's anything you want to cut or edit, you let me know. I'll have this done within, I don't know, next couple of days. I'll post it and I'll give you links and you can share it as you need to.
Cool. I appreciate it, man.
All right, brother. Thank you, Randy. You're awesome, brother.
All right.
Boom,
Thank you.
boom.